GFC in the 2025 Concacaf Champions Cup. Allow me first here to introduce at the main table from Seattle, head coach Brian Schmetzer and midfielder Paul Arriola. We'll remind you guys that for questions here in the room, please just raise your hand, introduce yourself. I'm sure these guys know all you guys in the room, but just go ahead and introduce yourself, please. For those of you on Zoom, if you push the raise your hand button, we'll get to you. We'll start with questions here in the room and then transition over to Zoom afterwards. En español, bienvenidos a todos a la conferencia de prensa oficial del día prepartido antes del partido entre Seattle Sounders y Antigua GFC en la Copa de Campeones Concacaf 2025. Permítame presentar a la mesa principal al entrenador de Seattle, Brian Schmetzer, y mediocampista Paul Arriola. Si tiene una pregunta en Zoom, pone el botón levante la mano y we'll get to you soon, sorry. Comenzamos a preguntas acá en la sala y cambiamos a preguntas en Zoom después. So we'll go ahead and start off. Coach, I'll just start with you. Just initial thoughts on the match tomorrow night, what you guys are looking for and what you expect to see out of Antigua.
Well, we expected a hard game. We understand the consequences of this second final leg. So I'm sure Antigua is going to come here with energy, enthusiasm, and we'll be prepared.
And Paul, from your standpoint, what did you guys take away, I guess, from the first match down in Guatemala and can apply for tomorrow night?
Yeah, obviously it wasn't an easy game. They're a good side that are very physical and have very talented players. Obviously knowing, the kind of result that they need. We'll be hoping to exploit some of the spaces that we were able to exploit in the first game as well and cap it off with a victory.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and start with some questions in the room. We'll come down in the front row.
Yeah, Brian, obviously, I'm sure you don't want to give away your lineup, but what is your sort of approach in terms of rotation and balancing this competition with the league games?
This is a one and out, so it's going to be the strongest team I can put out there. There will be starters, a bunch of starters, and I'll try and, rotate the squad as necessary depending on the game state.
So, Brian, to go a little bit deeper into that, obviously it's a full 90, but can you talk about the first 20 minutes, how that's important? Because like you said, they're going to come in here, fight, and looking for that first goal to kind of get this tie.
We need to establish tempo. We're not going to be afraid to press higher up the field when necessary. We're at home. I think that's a key component here. We always like to press a little higher up the field at home, but then establishing better possession. Because down there, they did a good job of their triggers of when to press us, especially when the ball went back to the goalkeeper. They were effective in that. And we were a little loose with some touches, and it put us under a bit of pressure. So we'll have to be a little bit cleaner in our possession and establish some tempo.
Brian, in terms of, learning lessons going into this game, when you look back at the last 10 minutes or 15 minutes of the Charlotte game and how aggressive perhaps your team was pushing to get that third, looking at your soccer module, did it feel like that's exactly what you wanted out of your team rather than maybe keep possession?
Yep. Well, we were keeping possession. We were keeping very good possession. They didn't get out of their half. It was unfortunately one mistake. So I thought the ending of the Charlotte game was tactically sound.
Just looking back at that specific concept of play, it seemed like he was a little bit rushed at the end of there's a free kick and Stephen Fry, puts a 50-50 ball into Jordan like in the 91 minute. Is that something that you are kind of looking for from your team, just be more aggressive throughout the whole
well, now you're
time?
talking both ways, though, because you want us to hold possession in our half of the field where they have a chance to press, or do you want to play in their half of the field?
Oh, no, I was wondering what you were trying to, get out of it.
Well, Steph made the right decision. No questions asked.
Come back over here to our right, your left.
This one's for Coach. You have obviously several players on the roster that, have local ties to the Seattle area, whether they, grew up here, went through the pathway, or they went to college here. What does it mean to, be a part of an international competition of this caliber? and have a local talented roster or local talent on the roster that make an impact in a big way.
Well, being from Seattle, yes, I take a certain amount of pride, but I would never, shy away from getting players from other parts of the world that are very talented as well. But certainly, yeah, that little Seattle connection is a source of, some pride.
Do you mind elaborating on that in terms of what it means to you?
Well, again, I mean, Jackson, Paul, Christian went to school here, Jordan, Cody Baker, Danny Label was an import, but he feels like he's one of us. There's lots of guys on our roster that feel like they're from Seattle. So I think that's just a job well done by the club.
Okay, I think there's a couple of questions for Paul as well. We'll come back down here to the front.
Sorry, Paul, to wait so long, but just staying on this theme of familiarity, after a couple games, can you just talk about, the team, your teammates, and how that's going to propel you into Wednesday's game?
Yeah, it's great so far. For me, it's been a pleasure to play with the guys. We have a really good group on and off the field, and we have a really talented, deep roster, and as coach is saying in terms of rotation and guys, I mean, it doesn't matter at the moment who you're putting on the field because of the talent that everyone has. And so, we all have to compete and fight for our spots. And when we get on the field, just try our best to help the team make plays offensively, defensively. That's kind of what I've just tried to do, is be myself and help the team win games. And obviously was able to do that in the first one. In the second one, obviously we let ourselves down a little bit, but I'm definitely excited to get another opportunity to play at Lumen in front of our fans and hopefully finish the series again with a win.
Can I follow up? Offensive, you showed offensively what you can do. Defensively, what is it that you think that man right there said, you know what, because he's a defensive guru, brought you here for?
Yeah, I think the formation, the system that we're playing is constantly adapting based on the rival that we're playing with, and that's a nice thing about being able to have a little adversity or versatility, I should say, in your game. Is sometimes you're connected with the back line, sometimes you're connected with the midfield line, and just trying to be able to pick up on those cues. I think so far a lot of us have done a really good job at that. And being able to understand the game, and obviously as time goes on, you earn more trust from not only your technical staff but as well your teammates to do the right job, and hopefully I'm in the right direction.
Yeah, Paul, what were your first impressions of playing here as a home fan or a home player as opposed to a visitor, and sort of like what your impressions?
Yeah, for the first time it was nice to play here. Before coming here, I didn't have really any great memories, and so now I'm looking forward to creating a lot of those. But obviously, the weather, the amount of fans that still came out that were cheering us on the entire time, it's really impressive. I'm really happy to be here and embrace the fans, embrace the culture, and I'm hoping we can give them a lot more victories this year.
Paul, quería saber, ya sabiendo lo que mostró Antigua en casa, ¿cuáles son las claves para prevenir que un equipo que está perdiendo 3-1 agarre un poco de confianza aquí en casa y que ustedes puedan manejar bien el partido?
Eso es, tenemos que manejar el partido como dice usted, empezando con un poco de inteligencia, ¿no? Entender que ellos tienen que meter gol, cómo podemos aguantar los primeros 10, 15 minutos que van a salir a buscar ese gol, pero también sabiendo que somos un buen equipo, que tenemos unos buenos jugadores en ataque, que tenemos muchos jugadores de posición, entonces podemos hacer mucho daño contra ellos. No queremos aguantar y tener presión. Queremos ir a buscar el partido desde el minuto 1, y si podemos hacer eso, yo creo que vamos a tener chance para ganar el partido.
Any additional questions in here in the room before we transition over to Zoom? All right, not seeing any, so At this time, we'll go ahead and switch over to questions from Zoom. Again, if you have questions, please click the raise your hand button, and we'll get to you as quickly as we can. All right, we'll start with Felipe Maqueda. Felipe, your line should be open. Go ahead.
Gracias. La pregunta es para Paul. Después del empate del domingo, del fin de semana, que pareció más bien se supo a derrota, ¿cómo se encuentra el ánimo del equipo para enfrentar al equipo de Antigua, que básicamente ustedes están frente a los fans en el estadio en la ciudad de Seattle?
Sí, eso es lo bueno de tener tantos partidos en pocos días, que no hay tiempo para pensar en lo que hicimos en el empate que tuvimos. Ya tenemos que dar la vuelta, ya tenemos otra chance, otra oportunidad para demostrar que podemos tener mucho éxito acá, específicamente en casa. Tenemos que enfocar en eso. Ya no existe el partido pasado, ya tenemos que enfocar en lo que viene, y yo creo que el equipo ya estamos listos para competir.
Okay, any additional questions on Zoom? I'll give it just a second in case there's any stragglers. ¿Hay más preguntas o no? Okay, we'll conclude with that. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Best
You
of
guys.
luck tomorrow night.